Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to our meeting of May 13th. I'll now officially call the meeting to order at 1 p.m. To start with, we'll start with our land acknowledgement and a moment of silent reflection. I'll now ask members to declare any pecuniary interest before council now or at the time of the conflict. Seeing no hands, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. May I get a motion to approve today's agenda as circulated or as amended? Councilor Walsh, as circulated. Deputy Mayor Byrd. All in favor? Motion's carried. Approval of the minutes. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the regular meeting minutes of April 22nd and the special meeting minutes of May 5th as presented or amended. Councillor Ward.
Through you as presented.
Presented. Deputy Mayor Byrd. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Motion's carried. Business arising from the minutes? Does anybody have anything? There was one piece in the minutes, but I talked to Mel already about it. And that was in the previous minutes you asked about the new MPP or MP. And they're just getting initiated today, so she'll look after that. Thank you. On to the consent agenda. We have correspondence items C1 through C10. Staff reports R1 and R4, and both special events committee meeting minutes and cultural and heritage committee minutes. Do we have somebody to approve as circulated or amended? Councillor Hodge-Greaves. As circulated.
Oh, sorry, as circulated. Yes.
Seconder, comment. Councillor Walsh with a comment. Okay, Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, just actually it's around R4, the community regarding the senior community connections program. I really just a comment that it's great to see that we got the grant. It's great to see that it's obviously interested in our senior community with some interesting topics. So that's just awesome to see that grant work. And hopefully with the new one coming forward with the senior hub in the library, that we'll still be able to do some of those things that we've kind of gained some momentum already with our senior community. So that's great to see.
Anyone further? All right, all in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Delegations?
Yes. Yes.
Delegations, we have Connor Gregory with us today to talk about the 100-acre bicycle road race. Connor, you have the floor. And just a friendly reminder, you have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you and I appreciate the reminder. I'll try to keep it quick. and thanks for this opportunity to meet with all of you and present this race. I'm not necessarily sure if anyone here has seen anything about the race thus far, but I'll just give a bit of a background. I've been organizing races in city parks in Toronto for a couple of years to great success, working with the communities here around the parks and local councillors to bring these events to life, and have some roots in the Peterborough area, some family and friends with the people that run the 100 Acre Brewing Co. And that's sort of how this idea came about. In addition to the fact that the roads in Peterborough are some of the best and really not that well known by a lot of the cycling community outside of Peterborough. There's really some amazing terrain, and the fact that there's just so many of them makes it an amazing place to host a race. So that's where this idea came from. So what we've planned is a gravel race, and I have a slide deck that I can flip through, but just to give some context for what I'm describing. Let me make sure I can share it before I overcommit, because I've had let's see if this works. So it looks like I'm gonna have to give permission to Zoom. 1 second. In the meantime, while I'm doing this, multitasking, the race is it's a gravel race. So many of you will be familiar with road racing like you see on TV, Tour de France, this type of racing where cyclists are all bunched up together. They're generally on smooth tarmac and able to stay together. And it's a very let's try this again. So this is what's sort of new in the world of bike racing is gravel racing, and the fact that the bikes have evolved now to be able to handle rougher roads. It's allowed for races to take place on quieter back roads and away from traffic. So gravel riding and racing have both become very popular. They're very somewhat safer, a little bit more adventure aspect, and that's basically what we're planning for the 1st of June. So it's a 100-kilometer route. There's actually 2 routes to choose from, 100 kilometers and 60 kilometers. The race starts and finishes from 100 Acre Brewing Co. on the outside, just on the border of Peterborough. The route traverses a lot of the more popular roads for cyclists in Peterborough, some of the favorites, and as well takes advantage of the Lang Hastings Trail as kind of the backbone of the race, and then exits the trail at certain sections to challenge the riders with some hills and some of the steeper, more challenging terrain to really give that adventure aspect or pain and suffering, depending on how their day is going. The impact on the local roads will be minimized by virtue of it being primarily on back roads and smaller farm roads. And as well, it being in the morning on a Sunday. So all of those things reduce the amount of impact to anyone living in the area or driving on those roads. I'm not able to share my screen, actually. I'll try one more time, but Zoom is forcing me to. I'll just have to share my entire desktop. There we go. Okay, so here we go. I've described what a gravel race is. What you would expect on race day would be something like you see here, cyclists in small groups lined up. There is anticipated to be about 100 to 200 racers. Is everyone seeing my screen?
No.
Sorry, no. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna roll with it as long as you can see that. That's all that matters. So I was pointing to these riders here. So this is a race that takes place similarly to the one I'm organizing. This is a race that happened in Grey County near Collingwood. There is about 100 people signed up so far, anticipating about 200 in total across both races. The course has been designed to allow each race to go ahead and start in waves so that there's no conflict between them, and doubles back a lot of the same roads, which optimizes some of the infrastructure around signage and having marshals at certain intersections that can stay in place throughout the day. And then just a little bit of a history on what gravel racing is. This slide deck is more than I have 10 minutes to describe. But what you're seeing here in these photos is images from another similar race. So, at times the riders will be as wide as a car, taking up most of the road, but everyone participating in these races understands that the roads are open and that vehicles traveling either way are to be allowed to pass. And though it is competitive in nature, there's no prize money. There's, aside from bragging rights and personal accomplishment, there's really nothing to be gained from taking any risks. And the majority of people, aside from maybe 5 or 6 teenagers who are trying to make a run at this as their career, are going to be out here to enjoy themselves. And cyclists are typically a pretty accommodating to other road users, and obviously most of us drive cars as well. So it is on open roads. We will be crossing some busier roads, and though we are on primarily back roads, there are some key intersections throughout the day that will require both OPP enforcement of traffic stoppages as well as marshals. So there's actually 8 intersections we've identified with a lot of help and input from Northumberland and Peterborough OPP, as well as staff from the 3 municipalities that are involved, to come up with a plan that reduces the amount of crossings, but also allocates resources both from volunteer and marshals, as well as the OPP pay duty officers on hand to help support that day. So I won't get into too much detail about the actual course itself, but the main road crossings are County Road 38, where we actually crossed twice, once at Elmhurst, and then again, at Centerline, and then on the way back on the Lang Hastings Trail. So at those intersections, we'll have OPP and marshal stationed throughout almost the entire day. But the rest will be a bit of a leapfrog strategy, where the racers, as they roll through, the marshals and staff stationed at that intersection will then relocate to another, and we'll be using quite a number of people to support all of that throughout the day. So I'll just skip over some of these slides. What we've put in place, like I mentioned, we have a detailed route plan and a marshaling plan. We've got about 20 to 25 volunteers, in addition to the OPP that will be on hand that day, as well as the bike shop Wild Rock in Peterborough has offered a number of their staff that day to support the race. The Peterborough Cycling Club is also very supportive. It's one of the better, or well-known and well-respected cycling clubs, especially in Ontario. But as this is sort of their hometown race, there's a lot of interest in helping out. So using all of those people, we'll be doing our best to not only support the riders as they pass through intersections, as well as escorting them along the course throughout the day. We've got a fairly comprehensive signage program. Signs are going to be going up this weekend, so we've got signs going up early to give advance notice to drivers on these roads that the race will be happening on June 1st. We've also got flyers that are being delivered or to be delivered, just notifying. So all the residents along the route will receive a flyer, really taking a belts and suspenders approach to try to notify people as best we can that this event is happening. The reason we're doing it early is obviously many people will only drive on those roads on the weekend, and just want to do everything we can to ensure that everyone is aware of the race. As a first year event, the most important thing is that it happens safely, that it's fun, and that the people who live in the area appreciate and understand, what it brings in terms of an experience, and can be supportive of it happening again, because races like this occur elsewhere in Ontario and are very popular, and thousands of people sign up. And that's really the goal here, is to pave the way for something that can be happening year over year, and hopefully grow in terms of numbers, and with a little bit more confidence around the financial side of things in terms of people signing up. we think that there's an opportunity to showcase even other areas of Peterborough County and create something that's really special and that all of the communities can take pride in. So that's why we're rolling out this communications plan, and we've worked with various staff to develop that. And I have a bit of background in events as well in Toronto, so I'm pretty familiar with the tone and the way to approach people about these types of events. Obviously, Sunday morning isn't going to be anyone's major. There shouldn't be any major traffic issues, but just want to make sure that anyone who has something planned, like a baby shower or perhaps just going to church that day, can just either make alternate arrangements or to maybe park on the other side of the road if they think that like at 10:30 a.m. they'll have to be leaving their home. So it's a lot of conversations. It's a lot of just socializing the event with people that may not even have any idea of what a bike race is, but the other goal is to hopefully try to encourage people who don't know about bike racing or aren't exposed to it, especially younger people, to be able to pick it up as a sport and really take advantage of what this area has to offer in terms of terrain and roads. So there are other events that happen in the area. Specifically, the John Hunter Memorial Ride is one that's actually hosted at the same venue, the 100 Acre Brewing Co. It's not a race per se. It's more of a group ride. They actually don't utilize any police or marshals to close intersections. It's a guided route through a lot of the same roads, but the difference is that this being a race, we really need to make sure that all the efforts that the cyclists are putting in to create a separation from each other or to have an advantage can be maintained as they pass through. So that's why there's a bit of a different approach on this event than something that's more of a fun group ride. And the rest of these races are good examples of what we would be doing. Reggie Ramble actually happens in a very similar area. Though these exist, they're definitely not quite the same programming as what we were doing. And we think that there's a kind of a gap in terms of the performance-oriented race that we're planning, which gives a bit of a competitive spirit, but as well, there's sort of, we like to say it's party at the business at the front. So racing, trying to finish as fast as you can, and then party at the back, people really just enjoying themselves, out to challenge themselves on the terrain and take in the scenes and whatnot. So this is the route. Obviously not super zoomed in, but primarily on Crowley Line, Baseline, and then taking these little detours north through Lang, and then using Elmhurst and Centerline to stay south of Highway 7. Some of you might know Sand Road or River Road or Forest Road. These are some of the roads that we really wanted to include. Another key feature of the race is going right through the town of Hastings, which presents some challenges for sure, but also very much worth it from our perspective in terms of giving the race some spectator value and promoting the fact that it's actually happening to people that may not even know about it. And from a logistics standpoint, crossing County Road 2 in the town of Hastings is a little bit easier from a safety perspective because there's a four-way stop. And then coming through town, there's a traffic light, and we've been working with some of the staff in Hastings and Asphodel-Norwood to come up with a plan for that. But it's a very cool part of the race, coming through town, going up the hill on River Road, and then heading west. You really get a nice view of the lake, and we think that that's while challenging, definitely worthwhile. And a lot of these roads, what you may be familiar, probably more than I am, but they're really, really scenic and nice, and I think capture a lot of what this area is famous for in terms of rolling, hilly terrain and nice side roads. So if anyone has any questions, just jump in. I'm not actually looking at my screen right now, so I can't see if anyone's raised their electronic hand. But coming out of Hastings, you jump onto the Lang Hastings Trail, and there's about a 15-kilometer stretch where we're on the trail. And the convenient thing here is that it actually crosses under County Road 2 in a tunnel, and then as well at Heritage Line, same thing, it crosses under the road, so reducing two major potential conflict areas for cars. And all of these other roads, aside from County Road 38, are pretty low traffic, and we've been working with the Lang Hastings Trail Committee to develop a signage strategy and a way to notify trail users that the race will be happening on this day. There will be quite a crowd of riders entering the trail at the beginning. Oh, sorry, I realize this route is old. So different than what you see here at Drummond Line, the race will go north and then get onto the trail, which does create a bit of a challenge in terms of the number of riders that will still be all together heading down the trail at that day. So it just means that the trail itself will be, you know, for the 20 minutes it takes the riders to get through, it'd be difficult to be on that trail with a horse or off-leash dogs and things like that. So that's why the signage strategy is very important. And we'll be sending a vehicle early to sort of notify anyone that happens to be on the trail that day, just to let them know that the race will be coming through. And then by the time they come back onto the trail, the expectation is that the hills and the terrain before then and the sheer distance of about 70 kilometers will separate the riders so that they'll be in smaller groups, and that's much more manageable and has less impact on what is the much longer usage of the trail. So just continuing on, we've developed this like a signage and marshalling plan. This is just a high level version of it. There's a very detailed, like 80-page document that we've used to develop a plan for using marshals as well as OPP. We do have a rest stop. So at David Fife Line, next to the trail, there'll be an opportunity for riders to stop in, refill their water. There'll be a bathroom there. There'll also be marshals there assisting with anyone who needs help. And it's actually at that section where the two route distances split. So if you're doing the full distance, you would continue east. If you're cutting short for the 60 kilometer, you would head back west on the trail and back to the brewery. So I'm going to keep going quickly just because I realize there's time. I won't get into too much of the detail around the signage marshalling plan. And this is also a bit older. So, and ignore everything happening on Saturday. We really, all that will be happening on Saturday is set up. So putting out the turning indications and directional signage for the racers, putting out pylons at certain sections to flag to racers where they'll be either heading straight or turning. But pretty much everything, especially from the cyclist perspective, will all be happening on June 1st. We do have a plan to coordinate with OPP and our volunteers at 7 a.m. for a pre-race meeting on Sunday. So this will be where everyone who's involved in organizing will meet. Everyone by that point will understand their responsibilities, and it's really about downloading the plan from an operations standpoint to the OPP team, and then they'll be able to support us throughout the day. But we also have a volunteer orientation scheduled for Tuesday next week, just to run through all of the different tasks that will happen that day. So that's it for the presentation, but can definitely answer any questions anyone has, or I can flip back to the route map just for a bit more, if there's anyone that has any comments or concerns.
I'd like to thank you, Connor. I did let you go overboard a wee bit, but it was in the interest of our taxpayers and ratepayers and Asphodel-Norwood, where you'll be riding through, and the safety aspect. I see you covered a lot of that. Council, do you have any questions before I state the recommended motion?
Thank you. Thank you for the information, Connor. Wish you all the best in the race. It sounds exciting. So just a quick question on the crossings along the trail from Hastings and through our township, and that way there are a number of township roads and private roads that cross that. So will there be signage there for cars or marshals to make sure? That's really my only concern along that section.
Yeah, no, very good question. And working in our favor is that there's yellow gates at all of those crossings for opportunities to put signs there, and people will, have advance notice as a cyclist to know that that road crossings are coming. At the key crossings like County Road 38 or some of the busier roads, then there will be marshals. Though at the less popular roads like Blizzard Line or others along here, we're not planning to have marshals. There will be a lead vehicle in front of the race. So on the road, it'll be a car, and then working with the Lang Hastings team. We'll find out after their AGM meeting this afternoon as to whether we can run dirt bike or a dirt bike in front of the race. This was a recommendation from the OPP to actually use a dirt bike to go ahead of the race the entire time, and that would definitely help in terms of giving advance notice to anyone on the trail. And then there would be signage at all of those crossings, and as well as the private driveways to just notify any cross traffic that the race is passing through. And we've got, I think, 100 and almost 200 signs in print right now that it'll be going up. So that'll be the best way to notify people day of. And then there'll also be flyers distributed throughout pretty much everyone we can get a flyer to the day, in advance of the race to let them know. So yeah, we'll be doing our best to allow them to cross safely.
Say a while.
So just for council's information, Connor has shared the plan with us and been very transparent. Everything he's doing, that plan did go to the fire chief and public works manager as well. And they have indicated they are satisfied with everything that he has done.
Any other questions, Connor? All right, thank you very much, Connor. Council, the recommended motion is that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood endorses a 100-acre classic road race on June 1st, 2025, and further that the council direct staff to prepare a letter of support to assist with the permitting process through Peterborough County. Councillor Walsh, Deputy Mayor Byrd, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Staff, moving along, we'll move on.
Thank you, everyone.
Staff report. Thank you, Connor. Thanks, Connor. Staff reports. Move on to R5. Department surplus equipment, Chief Building Official Ed Whitmore. Please proceed.
Following the budget, or during the budget discussions, we talked a little bit about the building department vehicle, the 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander. And the motion today is to declare that the equipment is surplus, and we would follow the procurement disposal of assets policy and try to get the best price for it. And if we can come up with a really good price, then we would dispose of it and then put the money back into the reserves. Or don't declare it surplus, and then we just continue on with the way that it is. But the recommendation is to declare it surplus.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Any questions of Ed? I'll read the recommended motion that the Council of Township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report for information, and further the council deems the equipment presented from the building department as surplus per the township's procurement and disposal of assets policy. I have a mover. Councillor Walsh, second by Councillor Hodge-Greaves. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Ed. We'll move on to R6. Peterborough Pete's OHL preseason games at Asphodel-Norwood Community Center. I'll ask the department manager to proceed. Thank you, Seamus.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So this report's in regard to the potential of extending and adding 3 more years of the Pete's preseason games here at the community center. Recommendation that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report regarding the Peterborough Pete's OHL preseason game for the next 3 years at the Asphodel-Norwood Community Center for information, and further that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood provides direction to staff on what options to proceed with. So in March, when the staff brought forward the report about the ice extension, it was noted that when it passed, that the start date for the 2025-2026 season be confirmed at a later date with intention of a minimum 1 week delay. Well, since then, the Pete's have reached out. They offered us 2 dates. Staff went back to them and asked for a potential later September date, which unfortunately they weren't able to provide. So we've been fortunate enough in the past to have the preseason game for 3 years. The first year it was on a Labor Day Sunday, which is similar to what this proposed game was. The following year, year 2, it was on a Friday, late September, and this past year it was on Sunday, September 8th. The nice thing about the first year the Pete's were played here, they did actually win the OHL championship. So we were hoping that the last years, that might have still been in, kind of a good luck charm, so. We do have an opportunity, the reason staff kind of asked to reserve the Sunday instead of the Saturday, it gives us one extra day to get the ice ready, or one extra day to not have the plant turned on. So typically in the past, we give ourselves about 2 weeks, because when we are doing this, we still have other tasks, we're not just completely putting in the ice. This year, we would be looking at probably 11 to 12 days. Reason being on that is, we do have a wedding on the floor that Saturday the 16th. So the earliest that the plant could be turned on would be that Monday. And typically it takes about 24 hours for it to come down to temp before we can start the first hose flow. And then previously I listed, so in 2021, Wednesday, September 1st was our first official day. 2022, it was August 31st. 2023, it was Tuesday, August 29th. That Monday, we did have it reserved for the Chicken Farmers of Canada photo shoot. And then the 24th last year was Tuesday, August 27th. So ideally, if the game's on a Sunday, you probably have to have people skate on a potentially Thursday, Friday, just to test it out, to make sure there's no chunks that come out. And then the revenue, so, these canteen sales are roughly about 3.5 to 4 hours, the canteen's open. Just, it opens a little, pretty much just before doors open, and about half hour after the game, it closes, and then we start cleaning up. So you can see in 2022, we did about just over 1,300, 2023, just over 2,000, and then 2024, just shy of 2,100. In 2022, since we had about a month when we were given a game before doing it, we comped the ice for minor sports. The last 2 years, we charged them 3 hours for it. We think 3 hours reasonable. That's roughly the time of the event. 2 years ago too, we opened a bar here, so that could be another way to potentially generate proceeds. It didn't go over the great, but last year, I think what we did is we implemented a no in and out rule. So we found 2 years ago, the reason the bar didn't do well is people were going out for parking lot fines. Versus now, it's once you get into the building, you can't leave. So we realized too, no one's coming in here getting super drunk often, but it does provide an opportunity that the lobby is congested. I don't know if any of you came during the Pete's game, but it is super congested. So by having an opportunity, someone comes in here, 2 years ago, we served pizza too. We did have the game being shown on the projector too. We did try 2 years ago selling tickets for this room. Didn't go over great. Maybe they were a little priced too high. And then regarding staffing, so we have 1 operator, 3 attendants, 3 canteens. So on a typical busy day, we have 1 operator, 1 attendant, and 2 canteens. So the only real additional costs here are the extra 2 attendants and 1 canteen. And the extra attendants, they help put on the ice because we have to look after the whole game night operation. So they put out the carpet for the ceremony. They move nets. And then they help with the cleanup and help with other stuff, as well as in intermissions, they stand in the stands to make sure fans come down the big red staircase and out at the end of the rink, and they're not going down underneath bothering the players. So like I mentioned before, this would be an opportunity to do another 3-year extension. And then I also listed the funds Norwood Minor Sports raised. So in 2022, they raised 10,000. 2023, they did just over 11, and in 2024, they did just under 9.5. So there's 2 options we'd like to present to council. So option 1, the ice goes in time for the August 31st preseason game. Option 2, it does not go in time for the August 31st preseason date. If it didn't go in, it probably, we'd look at putting it in a max a week later would kind of be the time frame we envision, because there'd be the demand for it. All operating expenses would be funded in this budget, because we did, when we planned for staff, we were prepared that with the goal, hopefully we get this for 3 more years. And then conclusion, staff recommend option 1, as believe the Pete's game is a great event to showcase Asphodel-Norwood and community center. And at this time, if you have any questions.
Council, Deputy Mayor Burt.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation, Sheila. I have to admit, when I first saw this, I was a little ticked, to say the least, just because we had the plan that, okay, we're leaving the ice in longer. It's gonna go in later to save money. That being said, I would never take this opportunity away from minor sports, because that fundraiser, how else are you going to raise $10,000? It's a great fundraiser for them. I think just moving forward, it would be really nice to have maybe more consistent dates through the peaks, and if we know that we're getting this for the next 3 years, can we, work with them ahead of time to get some specific dates and then really nail down, okay, are we having these spring tryouts? Because we did have a couple teams that did back out. We lost a little bit of ball hockey. So I think just looking at the big picture, maybe a little further out, to get that timing down. But yeah, I would never take away this for a fundraiser for minor sports. But we do need to get that planning down, and while I have the floor, if that's okay, I think another piece of the planning is when the ice does come out. Is there any way we can make it so that when the ice comes out, we're not paying our road staff overtime? Because I think on Saturday, we had a truck and a driver and motor operator in here hauling out ice, and that would have been overtime. So, when we're looking at efficiencies and planning, that's just my suggestion.
So through your mayor, yes, we consider that, and obviously now with ball hockey not using as much, then it's a simple next year, it's a weekday, and sorry, if you can't start on the Monday, you're starting on the Wednesday. Typically the reason we've done it is because of quick turnaround, but 100% now with ball hockey's not using multiple nights a week, it's for sure, maybe our staff will work on the weekend and it sits there till Monday, Tuesday, or et cetera. But yes, we've already considered that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hodge Grace.
Through you, Mayor, because I saw on Facebook that, like, how successful was the extra week of ice for minor hockey? Are you able to speak to that? So it looked like a bunch of them got canceled. So are we anticipating minor hockey will need the later in the season next year? Do we have any idea how that all went?
So through you, Mayor, so at the time they committed to 21, they canceled 9. When they canceled the first one, we went back to them and said, council made this decision, so if we don't fill it, you're paying full pop. So they're aware of that. So I believe the Monday, Tuesday, the 5th and 6th, we didn't even make an attempt to try to fill it, because if we would have filled it for a group that maybe pays $60, it wouldn't be worth it. So that way we actually were able to save some money by staff getting out of here earlier. The one night we were able to move up the last group, so if anything, it saved staff again time. We were able to start removing the ice at 9 o'clock on Friday instead of 10. But that's one thing in the fall, depending on, obviously, hopefully OMJ doesn't make a rash decision at the end, but in the fall, we either make the decision up front that if we get enough interest from Durrell Autonomy in that, we commit to it now, providing they're gonna fill it, or if they're hemming and hawing, maybe it's, you know what, unfortunately, it's mid-April. I mean, you're giving them lots of notice so that they can find elsewhere. But I think if the demand was there, it again makes sense, because I think if we committed to upfront, pretty sure Autonomy and Durrell would come to us. I know Durrell did pick up more ice once they knew, because they were able to get earlier dates, or again, it's closer. But if we don't get interest from the other ones, it's unfortunately, Norwood, we're not keeping it in just for you guys to potentially do what you did again. Maybe it is mid-April.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you through you. Just to add on that, I think that there should be maybe some timelines that you set so that you know when you're going to reach out to these teams. If they are going to do a spring tryout, like so that you have the definitive timelines that that this is going to come out on this date, so that everyone has plenty of time. Because I think when you have people canceling or in the last minute, if you reach out to all the user groups and say, we need to know, and maybe set the end of January, I don't know, I'm not even sure, your timeline's better, but at least it would, because I felt the same way when I first saw the report. And of course, I would never say, building on what Deputy Mayor Burt said, it is a fundraiser for the minor sports, but the whole idea was, try to be more efficient and, with the arena and stuff. So like, I understand the problems that have, challenges that have, rise, but maybe we can mitigate them for next year.
3 minutes, yeah, we'll for sure reach out to, we've already had one meeting with the Pete's just to get going, but yeah, letting them know that, hey, 2 years from now, we're entering year 5. Like, I know last year, part of the reason we were able to be September 8th is because we got the chiller condenser. And then, so hopefully, I believe Cabin Monaghan's coming back, and then they have a new location. But for sure, we'll reach out and say, hey, you know what, it's better for everybody. It's better that we can potentially put it in later. It's better for, I'm sure, for fans to not have to potentially come on a Sunday, Labor Day weekend for volunteers. For everybody, so we'll make sure, we'll do our best to hopefully get kind of that mid-September, later September date instead of having to always have that Labor Day weekend.
And also to the user groups for the minor sports for the spring tryouts, if that's going to be a reality from now on as well.
Okay,
That's it.
Councillor Walsh.
I think just kind of build on everybody's comments today, definitely can't walk away from this opportunity. It's an opportunity to showcase our arena, community center. It's great having the Pete's come here. It's a great fundraiser for minor hockey. I think just the lessons learned, the whole spring tryouts was new for everybody this year. So us, as well as every minor hockey organization in the area, muddled through it, because it was all, when some teams didn't, because some didn't have a coach, weren't sure what they're gonna do. I think lots of lessons learned from this year. I think that the thing for me is those lessons learned will be for our benefit next year and yours. And the other thing is if we move forward with this and agree to it, is you can start advertising right now that on August 31st, we will have ice, because I'm like you, there was teams from Dora that were going to Calford because they didn't think we had ice. They would much rather be here, and the Tonabee would come here more probably. So I think we will pick it up.
Yeah. So through your mayor, so yeah, obviously Norwood U15, U18 pushed it off. I believe Darrell U9 didn't do it. Keene Wolverines did all theirs, so if this gets passed, next week we'll be reaching out to Keene Wolverines, Otonabee, Darrell and say, hey, if it's in the 31st, we want to start at the 29th so people can skate on it and make sure that we're filled, so it's not, again, you're putting it in for the beat skate, great, and then for 2 weeks it
Right.
sits there, and then it's like, well, was it worth it putting in for one game?
Okay. Any further questions? Well, thank you, Seamus. I'll read the recommended motion that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report for information, and further the council provides direction to staff on which option you want to proceed with. Councillor Walsh.
I would put the option one that the ice goes in time for the August 31st preseason game.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Ward. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Seamus. Moving along to R7. Reporting requirement under the Ontario Regulation 284-09. In our treasurer's absence, I'll ask the CAO to proceed, please, Alan.
So through you, Mayor, yeah, our treasurer is on training today, so he talked to me last week and passed this one out to me. This is the annual PSAP report, so you've seen this before. Basically, this difference this year is what this year's numbers are. So what we're looking for is that the council receive this report for information, and the council confirm their awareness, future post-closure landfill, future employee benefits, and amortization are not included in the 2025 budget. So as I said, this is a yearly statute. We are required to bring this report to you. We bring it every year. Under the municipal act, municipalities are allowed to exclude from their annual budget amortization, post-employee liabilities, and solid waste landfill and post-closure expenses. So that's what we've done in our budget. Bringing this report is basically the process so that everybody is acknowledging what was done. So the treasurer has provided a breakdown of the amortization expenses. He has provided a breakdown of the landfill, and we do not have any our employment liability at this point. So the costs for the initial closure of the landfill have been allocated in our reserves for use at time expenses are incurred. The onboarding monitoring costs are included in the environmental service operating budget each year. So if there are any specific questions, I'm happy to do my best to try and cover them off for you.
Council, any questions? Councillor Hodge-Grace.
So through you, Mayor, this is the Norwood landfill that is closed but not really closed. This is the part I don't understand, because we've had the presentation and I can't remember, I don't understand.
So through you, Mayor, we have a land transfer station there.
Yeah.
That is separate
Yeah,
in the place of where the old landfill used to be.
Yeah.
And they are two distinct pieces. I think if you think of them that way, that might help with that piece.
but the one that we've talked about with DM Wells is the landfill
Yes,
portion, and it is closed.
yes.
Yes.
We do not take any, we have.
But
a
I thought
transfer
we
station.
had, that it wasn't closed. Like it wasn't officially, I thought there was another piece to it that
The monitoring piece that we do yearly.
is
Part of
still,
the requirement of the close. So any landfill that gets closed, you have to monitor it for 20 years afterwards. So I want to say we have to get 6 or 7 years we have left on the monitoring place. After that's done, then we can say it is 100% closed.
okay, well, it says 12 years remain.
Sorry, 12 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I thought it wasn't officially closed, but it is closed. We're still monitoring it and then it will be closed.
As long as the monitoring comes back in an appropriate fashion.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
And for the 20-year period.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions? All right, I'll read the recommended motion that the Council of Township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report for information, and further that the council confirms the awareness that the future post-closure landfill, future employee benefits and amortization are not included in the 2025 budget. Councillor Hodge agrees. Deputy Mayor Byrd, all in favor? Motion's carried. R8, boards and committees reserves. Alan, you can continue on for good.
Once again, through you, Mayor. Back in December, we had brought a report to council around the reserves for the committees. And basically, there were some questions that came out of that, and this report is the response to those questions. And the big question there was particularly around the special events committee, because it had had a name change and sort of a mandate change at least 3 or 4 different times. So what the treasurer did was basically go back and kind of pull out what each was. So of the special event committee right now has a reserve of 24,000. That came from 2775 beautification committee, EDVAC 7586, special events, special projects, special events 3515, and showcase 10799. So that's where everything came from, and I think there was some question around from the December meeting. Should it stay in one place? Should it be split out? So we have come back with a couple of different approaches on how that could be done. And we're just looking for feedback from council on what they would like to see happen.
All right, council. Remember,
Thank you through you. Yeah, glad to see this report finally come forward. That's fantastic. Because there's been a lot of questions around this over the last months. So there's essentially the 24,000 and a bit, that is sitting there. From looking at this and thinking about it, I know you've given a couple of options, but I'm thinking one option that wasn't included is take that reserve balance, put it in a reserve on its own. And then, from the committees, they have goals and priorities and budgets moving forward. Those would come forward by the end of the year before budget. And then really, I think taking a look at budget time to see, does this committee, depending on what their goals and priorities are, do they need some extra money? This is taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
And to me, maybe that reserve balance will go into, maybe, Parks and Rec, maybe some fire, maybe whatever, because it is taxpayers' money. So maybe it doesn't stay with the committee. So that's my thinking, is that reserve goes in its own reserve until budget time and until the committees come back with their goals and recommendations.
Just so I'm clear what you're saying, that are you talking about combining all 3 of them into one big reserve or keeping them separate in the 3?
Oh, sorry, the reserve balance, the special events committee reserve balance of that chunk of money.
I think it's 10,000 was max, is that not?
What we, in the report in December, we
Yes.
put it forward, the recommendation, which was approved at the time, was that we cap any of the committees at a $10,000
Yes.
reserve unless they could justify, explain why they needed more than that. So then
Yes.
potentially that's one to just say it's capped at that. Anything over that, whether it's a general reserve or if council decided they wanted to get it someplace else, that's council's discretion on what they want to do. But that's sort of the We just like to know where you want it and how we want to account for it.
Councilor Ward?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just touching on something that Deputy Mayor Burt said. I agree that people need to be working towards a goal, which is why everyone knows the Cultural and Heritage has that chunk. We've been working towards a goal in our work plan to do a digital version of the Nord Register. And a work plan, I agree that they work, and I think that if every committee, there's not that many now, if we all had a work plan in November, and maybe it's signage for the Norwood Market, maybe it's for special events, maybe there's something that special events needs, but maybe really do some goals, like some strategy and goals of what each committee, and then work back. Then I agree that part of the money is taxpayers' money, so let's decide what a goal is, what's realistic, and move forward, and have the committees have a little bit of input of what they want to do going forward. But just a thought.
Right, Alan?
So through you, Matt, the one I would also recommend people give some consideration to number 2, which is Showcase, because that is an event that generates some of its own revenue. So in that particular case, that money coming in, so maybe potentially, again, separating that one off as its own, just and how Showcase may or may not be running going forward, it gives them at least a base.
Right. Councilor Ospreys?
Through you, I appreciate the work on the treasurer has done to pull out the different numbers, and every iteration of the committee has raised money. Further in the budget and the thing, there's an update, there's a letter from the Special Events Committee proposing an updated streamlined mandate, actually. So in terms of that, thinking about that, they don't, it has a very, I'd say it's a more refined vision, and it doesn't need $24,000 in the budget, and the reserves should be for things that, like Deputy Mayor and Councilor Ward said, it's something to, if you need to save for something, yes, something big. Special events is always going to be events, obviously, if that stays. And also a Showcase, special events is suggesting, because it actually came out of the EdBack part of the committee, that it comes back in, goes back into the business advisory, but maybe Showcase should become its own thing because it has money, and maybe then it should be just its own thing, so that it's a very clear vision of working towards Showcase, and perhaps that's something else. But in terms of dollar values, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money to sit in special events when we've been able to make events for $500, $1,000, $2,000. So but I do wonder about ring fencing the Showcase money as a Showcase thing, and having a small reserve balance for the Special Events Committee. Nothing, whatever that was from last year, I don't think we carried any. I can't remember if we carried anything for last year. It wasn't big, but anyway, it's a lot of money. It's good to see it broken down, but I would agree, it needs to go into some kind of, or in general working funds, where it becomes part of the reserves and it's used, and the committees are allowed to request money from general working funds. I don't know.
Alan?
So through you, Mayor, just to reiterate, the report that was brought in December, what was approved at the time was a cap of $10,000 for each. So if part of your resolution today potentially could be to say we want it capped at the 10,000, and any other monies would go back into general reserves.
Councilor Walsh?
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of build on everybody's comments to date. This is taxpayers' dollars. I look at the committees as they're structured and running in 2025. They know they have $2,500 to work with. I'm uncomfortable just putting $10,000 in the special event committee reserve budget, unless you have a plan. If you have a plan, you have not that you, but the Cultural and Heritage Committee have a plan. So I have no problem with $19,000 sitting there, because I know it's going to get spent because you have a specific plan, but just to drop 10,000 and go figure out something to do, I would sooner the group comes to us and say, okay, we have 2,500, we have it spent, but we think we have this other great plan. May take us a couple of years, But we're gonna need some money to make that happen, and we come to the bank of council and we'll decide whether that seems like a fair thing, but I just don't think to send $10,000, especially to say, you've got a $10,000 reserve. Come to us with your plan and we'll disperse that.
Right. Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yeah, so when you go through the lines, culture and heritage, they've saved up for years, they know exactly what that project is, they will be executing that forthcoming. Special events committee, $24,000. If we drop that to 2,500, so they've got that in their pocket. Business advisory has 2,500 in there.
So through you, Mayor, the 25 that they have, both committees have this year
Yeah.
was money that was budgeted in 2025. That's
Yeah.
not the same 2020 or 2,500.
So
That's
that
what,
2,500 that
that's-
business advisory has
that's in
that.
their reserve.
Yeah.
In the 2025 budget, there is also
And also
2,500.
yeah,
for the
I just
yearly
didn't want to
operations.
drain a reserve out of special events committee, so that's why I thought, okay, put it in 2,500, same as business advisory. Right, so then there's,
5,000.
yeah,
Theoretically.
essentially 5,000 is sitting there,
Money.
so that. So the 24,000 minus 2,500, that's what's left, that goes into a special reserve for now. And then depending on what the committees bring forward in a work plan, that money is available. And then come budget, we can take a look at it and maybe it does go back into general reserves, or maybe we have a special line and that is for these special projects. But yeah, to leave that amount of money in the special events committee, even as Councillor Hodge-Grieve says, it's an event. Unless you're going to get some massive singer here and, have to pay, a lot of money out of pocket, they're not gonna use it, so let's stick the remainder, 24,000 minus the 2,500 that we can put in there, just to be fair. And then go from there, that's just my suggestion, so whatever that amount comes to.
Councillor Hodge-Grieve.
Just thinking of ease, is it easier just to put the money into general working funds, knowing that it's there, or should it be a separate sort of committee allocation reserve? I don't know what's the better way, if it's all kind of from the same, yeah.
Go ahead.
So, through you, Mayor. Personally, I am a much bigger fan of reserves that have a specific identity to them and say
Yeah.
it is going to be for this. What happens is you get a couple of years, you put the end of the year in, and next thing you know, you're sitting with almost $25,000, but no specific plan on how it's going to be used. Like I said, I personally, I don't think that leads to good outcomes.
No.
So, I mean, I agree with everything the council is saying, that if a small base is a good thing, and that way, if there's something that comes up specifically in the year, you can say, okay, we'd like to use. We spent our regular budget, but this is really good. We'd like to take 1,000 from reserve and use it on that. But if we're getting into big numbers with this one, then that should be a plan that's come to council, been approved by council and endorsed. So, yeah, I think if you give them the base number, whether it's 25 or whatever number you decide it is, and the rest of it goes in the general working reserve, that's not because again, if there was something that was big enough that they came back and you decided the council decided they wanted to do it, you would go into the general reserve fund and move that money over.
So you're saying, yes, leave some in special events, but the bulk, we don't have another reserves that's called committee reserves. It goes into general work.
At this point, yes, it would go, do not have, each of the committees has their own reserve
Yes.
set up right now. There is not anything after that. It would be general
Okay.
reserve. And like I say, the only other piece that I could give some consideration to would be showcase, and because that's money in certain cases, it didn't roll over from years, but was actually raised during that
Right.
event. So I do consider that a little bit different than just money that rolled over at the end of the year.
Right, okay. What's your wishes, council?
I'll put a motion on the floor that, based on all the findings that Jordan has put together, that, out of fairness, Culture and Heritage Committee stays at 19,086 because they have a plan.
Right.
Special Events Committee would have a reserve of $2,500. Business Advisory Committee would have a reserve of $2,500. And the remaining 22,173.30, 176.30, sorry, would go to general reserves.
Right. We have a mover. We have a second.
Sorry, I'm wondering, I'll look for some guidance. In that reserve, it is in general reserve, but it is first crack at it would be those committees if they had something. Like
Yes.
Right of, I don't know. how to-
What,
Through you, Mayor. Once it goes back into general reserves, there isn't necessarily a hierarchy or a first crack.
should
So can it be put in a separate reserve?
showcase maybe?
Can it be put into a committee reserve, like a?
Go ahead.
So through, if council's
Consolidated
direction
committee
is to
reserve.
set up a new general committee reserve, then that is something we can definitely do.
I would like to
I've
see a consolidated committee reserve.
That it, otherwise it goes back into the big pot and makes it lose. Not that it may get lost down the road because we may need it for other projects, but at least for now. My motion would be that the remaining 22,170, 630 would be put in a committee reserve.
But do you want to have a cap on that? Because some of that should go back into general reserves, like.
And I think that's a
Thinking it's
conversation,
taxpayers'
that's
dollars.
a conversation for budget,
Okay,
in my opinion.
go ahead, JLL.
Through you, Mayor. I think your cap idea has a lot of merit. To a certain extent, you're mirroring what we did in December when we said the individual committees were going to be capped at 10.
Yeah,
So if you're going to have this new one that was capping it at 25, that way, that's a fair.
fair
I don't know
chunk
what
of
they're
change.
doing, that's a very nice number. And then you wouldn't have to worry about 2 years, we might be back here going, okay, yeah, there's $32,000, what would you like to do?
Right. Councillor Hutchcrease.
Wonder if deputy mayor hit it with, do we kind of hold it for now, see what comes in budget and then see if, because it's hard. I don't know, in terms of administration too, it's another thing to administer. The only thing I wonder if should be separate is the showcase, but I don't know, I feel like a committee. It hasn't quite come out yet in my brain, but it doesn't quite make sense to hold it as a committee reserve if we don't know what to do with it now. It should showcase stay separate because that was revenue. And then the rest just goes to general with the idea that committees are allowed to ask to go to general. So I don't know, whereas I don't know. I don't really have a strong enough opinion and it hasn't quite come out enough.
Thank you for you. I think that, we have two things here. One, that it should be a budget conversation, and two, that the work plans of the committees should come forward, and then that will determine
What we
like
do with it.
what is needed. So if each committee comes forward with a work plan, and if they are saving something particular, and then we can decide then, I don't know, like, I think it's a budget question, just as Deputy Mayor Burt said.
So through you, Mayor, one of the motions that you could then put forward would be to staff to go back to the committees, tell them for the 2026 budget, they're going to need a business plan, including their operation for 2026 and the recurves that are currently there and how they might want to use. And then you could make the decision on what you want to do with them during that budget process.
Just a comment. Yes, it's nice to have these funds in each department. My problem is a lot of the times that these different events that we have cost staff time. Does that come out of that event or does it come out of public works event? Does it come out of wastewater event? Like that's their funds for the year, but yet we're utilizing those employees. Go
So
ahead.
three, Mayor, those would be in-kind contributions from the township to whatever the particular event going on, working with the committee, but it was the committee, we don't bill that time to the committee, no.
So it gets billed to that.
That's billed as regular hours for what they're doing, whether it's myself, works department, rec department, that gets billed as part of their regular duties.
All right. Deputy Mayor.
I'm just wondering as a friendly amendment to Councillor Walsh's motion that we do put a cap on that consolidated committee reserve of 5,000 or 30,000, whatever we come up with. And if it exceeds that, and I don't think it will this year. I don't think we'll have that issue, but I think that's a good idea that we put a cap on that. If it exceeds that, it goes into general reserves. Once, and the rest of the conversation comes forward at budget time, because if that's sitting there and we find that, you know, with the work plans coming in, that they're not gonna be needed, at that point, you know, with 25,000 or even 20,000 in there, we're getting up to 0.5% of a levy almost. So I think that's important. So, there's a few steps here, but I think the first step is put that cap in place. And then the rest is at budget time.
How are you?
However you want to
Motions
present
now?
I'm good with it, but what was the cap?
25?
I'm comfortable with
Whatever you want.
a $25,000 cap.
Be specific in what you.
I think,
Let's hear your magic.
oh, I think we can put that in the minutes.
Right.
But do you want me to reiterate what I think?
Yes.
Yeah, sure, okay, through you, Mayor. So Cultural and Heritage Days as they are. Special events will get 2,500. BAC will get the same, or already has the same. The remainder, no, forgive me, no, the remainder, yes, will be put into a consolidated general committee reserve that we will set up as staff. And the intent is that if should that reserve exceed $25,000 as the cap, that will go into a general working reserves.
That sounds.
You all comfortable with that? No.
Alan?
Want a line in there about, and this will be revisited during the budget
And
process.
yeah,
Oh,
So it's like, just, it would be revisited at comes of time.
did you second that motion, Deputy Mayor? You did. Any further comments?
so that was seconded. Deputy.
Deputy Mayor,
Thank you.
all in favor? Motion's carried.
Can I ask you guys,
Yes.
is now the time to put a motion forward to direct staff to communicate to our committees to establish a work plan and budget for 2026?
I think it'd be good for them to know in advance.
Through you, Mayor. I believe that's already in the terms of reference, but maybe Prudence, can you confirm that having a work plan is already a part of,
Okay.
I believe, but it is.
It is.
It is, thank you. Okay.
So we don't need to have that motion, that will be done.
That's already part of what they
Thank you.
are
Okay.
to do anyway.
Because in reality, both of those committees are receiving $2,500 that they don't know about right now.
Right.
So let's
Yeah.
see if the work plan, that gives them so much money to develop a work plan for 2025. And start working on 2026.
So the committee reps are, you convey that, maybe gentle reminder, maybe?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Moving along to R9. Mel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I know it's hard to believe, but conversations have begun about the 2026 municipal and school board election happening October 26, 2026. So included in your package today is a report outlining alternative voting methods and also seeking council's direction on which method they would like to see endorsed. So as council knows, the Ontario Municipal Elections Act does allow for some flexibility in voting methods, provided that council adopts a bylaw to that end by May 1 of an election year. So I know this report may seem a little early, seems we're a year out, but this early direction really does help us in planning, budgeting, preparing, but also to align with our municipal neighbors at election time, the lower tiers, and even the city of Peterborough really band together, we support each other, work together, and we look for consistencies where possible. So after the 2014 election, the township moved away from paper ballots and have exclusively used electronic voting, so telephone and internet voting for the past 2 election cycles, to 2018 and 2022. And we are recommending that continued use in 2026, as we found it's cost effective, it's secure, it's accessible. And we've also seen an increased turnout in our younger voters, which is, I think, classically a demographic that maybe doesn't participate in elections as well as they could. So that's really encouraging. Now, this would be our 3rd time around with the electronic voting. So we believe that residents are comfortable with it. They recognize it. They know the process. They get their voter information card in the mail. They enter their PIN, their date of birth, and either using a touchscreen pad or a laptop or a telephone, they can place their votes. And it's actually very easy. Now, of course, we do recognize that everybody may love electronic voting. And I just want to remind those people that we do transform the municipal office boardroom into what we call the voter help desk. So in the last two elections, I can remember anyway, we had 2 tablets, a laptop, a landline telephone, all set up. And we do that for the advanced polling period or advanced voting period, which I think is like 10 days prior to election day as well as election day. So anybody who wants that in-person experience or maybe has a barrier to technology or equipment, they can come into the office and still have that experience.
Yes.
And on election day, we're there till 8 p.m. So it's not just office hours, even that's a barrier. So I think we do provide that option for people as well.
See, there was 1% now that did
That did-
use that
yes,
option.
Exactly, thank you.
And I know that I sent some senior older people that wanted to vote in person. I said, well, you won't get a piece of paper, but they'll help you out with a tablet there, or they'll help you out with a phone and you're by yourself. Everything's confidential and they liked it. So, Councillor Wong.
Thank you through you, and you still do go out to the
Seniors.
seniors residents and Mapleview, which is really great because then they have an opportunity to participate in, you know, important election.
Yeah, that actually, we coordinated with them in the past 2 cycles, and we would do that again. So like you said, anybody who wants that opportunity does have that.
Right.
So as I mentioned, the lower 2 municipalities really do work together at election time. And actually, the clerk in Trent Lakes is taking the lead and will be taking the lead in developing a joint RFP for election services provider. So once the group knows what everyone's doing, that will come forward. But as of today, we know that Haddon, Monaghan, OSM, Ottawa South Monaghan, and North Kawartha have already endorsed the electronic voting for 2026. And we'll be hearing from Duro Dummer and HBM and Selwyn by the end of the month. So at this time, there are no financial implications. We have been putting aside $7,000 a year into the elections reserve. So at the end of 2025, we should have $21,000. And in 2022, we spent just over 23,500. So as we look at the budget for 2026, I think we're in good shape.
Okay.
So I will leave that with council for deliberation and discussion, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, Deputy Mayor Bird?
Yeah, thank you very much. Very detailed report.
Yes.
I do think this is the way we go. I was really surprised at the only 0.9% that came into the municipal office because we kind of heard
That there was
more. And that kind of surprised me. I do believe we also bought a couple of touch tone phones for residents. I think the last time or maybe the first time, so they could vote by phone at home because they just had a dial. So I believe, or we loaned them one, or there was
Okay.
something. I do, at least for one resident. I do know that. Anyway, I think it's the way to go. We've never had an issue with it in the last two cycles, and it seems to be cost effective, and it works. And I would certainly make a motion with your recommendation when the time comes.
Okay, Councillor Hodgkrees.
Yeah, thank you for the detailed report. What was interesting is I read it, you know, the tabulators, and then when I printed this, looked at this, it was interesting to see that the paper ballot and tabulators they didn't have as high a percentage of people uptake anyway. So I thought, oh, is there validity in that? And it's no, our residents are comfortable enough. And I do think familiarity, you know, and I would say having online, like a video of how it works and enhanced educational opportunities for how internet and telephone voting works would be beneficial, but I would support the internet and telephone voting.
Any further comments? Councillor Walsh?
Pretty much just to echo what Councillor Hodgkrees said, yeah, if you look at that, sort of all the municipalities in Fairfield County, you know, the higher percentage were the ones that were not paper ballot. Those that were paper ballot were, you know, at least 10 points behind everybody else. And the familiarity, people have now kind of got sort of used to it. It's safe, it's secure. We've had no issues with it, so again, I would be the same. I'm very supportive moving forward with the internet and telephone point.
Okay. I'll read the motion. The Council Township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report for information, and further the council approves the use of the telephone and internet voting for 2026 municipal election. And further, the council directs the clerk to prepare the necessary bylaw in accordance with the Municipal Elections Act for consideration of future meeting. Mover, Deputy Mayor Bird, Councillor Hodgkrees, all in favor? That motion is carried. Moving along to R10. management action list.
Through you, Mayor. The first one we're gonna start with is actually just a reminder that our first community market is this Saturday on the 17th, from 8 to 12. Just we're very excited about that. We're hoping for no rain and a really nice warm day, so that's just a reminder on that one. On our action list, the one thing I want to highlight is we have set a date for our spring road tour. It's that we're very excited about that. So on June 12th, we'll be going out on doing that. And we did get a request from Council War, which I thought was a really good one, in that for originally we were going to bring the first forced road strategy and the Westwood Well project options to the 27th. But she had suggested maybe it'd be a good idea to do it after that, which talked with staff, and everybody supported that. So we have moved those two to June 24th. After the spring road tour. A reminder, I think some of you know this, but for the June 10th meeting, I will be away at AMCTO that time, so I won't be here for that one. And then we did have to move, we've been working with the County Economic Development Office, and we were hoping to get some refresher training and some council priorities to you for June, but because of their timing, it looks like that's now going to be the first part of September. But there is a report that they're working on that's going to go to county council, but then will also come down. Questions? I'm happy to do my best to help.
More questions? Okay, thank you, Alan. Council may get a motion to accept this report. Councillor Hodgson, Councillor Ward, all in favor? Motion's carried. Correspondence for action. What's council's wishes with respect to C11, the various municipalities' expression opposition to expanding strong mayor powers? The Deputy Mayor Burt. Move to support. Seconded, Councillor Ward. All in favor? Motion is carried. Moving along to surveillance and monitoring of heavy vehicles in Ontario, C12.
I would support.
Move to support. Seconder. Asking one more time. I get a second. No seconder? All right, that motion's lost. So.
Maybe try again.
Try again, motion to receive. Motion to receive, Councillor Walsh, seconder, Deputy Mayor Burt, all in favor? I need to see hands. Okay, thank you, it's passed. C13. Support for Canadian economy, Township of West Lincoln.
To receive.
Motion to receive. Second by Councillor Walsh. Comments? All in favor? It's carried. Board remuneration for the OPP detachment board, C14.
See with the comment.
Okay, receive with the comment, I'll
There's-
take that. That's
Do we need a
mover,
seconder?
seconder. Councillor Ward. Okay.
Do we, like, there's nothing, we can't do anything about this anyway, so I think just
Receive,
receive it is fine.
yes.
Do you have any comments on that? That's the,
No, because we did talk about the province, we had a problem with provincial appointees, because we'd hate to see the province all of a sudden come in and say, that person's gonna get $500 a meeting. The rest of the municipalities are gonna, what are you talking about? So that's a lot of the reason why this is put into place. So that province can't overdo what the board has done itself, and that's how it's gone across the, if you look at the different prices, there's one place, I think they get $4,000, I think it was a.
so as a board member, would you prefer that we support?
Support it,
piece?
yes. Motion to support it. You can just-
Because like I say, you're on the board, so
Yeah.
that's why it just
I supported
doesn't
it.
make any difference. Okay, so
Motion to support.
Friendly amendment.
I guess a friendly amendment. Now that we've asked the question, a motion to support.
Okay. You'll second that. Any further comments? All in favor? Motion's carried. C15, proposed mandate update for the special events committee.
Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, yes, any questions of Councillor Hotchkiss? Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yeah, just as we go through this, absolutely get hold on, I've highlighted a bunch of stuff here. Trails Day, that's not really happening, and that was kind of a combination of a bunch as well. Pumpkin Parade, that's never really taken off, unfortunately. It started with the library and it's just never really taken off, so I think that needs to take a backseat. Showcase Asphodel-Norwood could be its own separate piece, as you mentioned, or it could be part of the BAC, because that's where it fits more. So yeah, absolutely. I don't think that needs to be a part of that group. The proposed addition to the schedule of events, a welcome event, in my opinion, when I saw that, that is something that should happen, but I think that should come more from township staff. I think each committee should be part of that, and each department should be part of that, but I struggle a little bit with that being part of the special events committee, but I'm just throwing that out there and we'll have the conversation.
Councillor Walsh?
Yeah, just a couple of things. One is that just in reading it, I'm aligned as well. Trails Day, we can live without pumpkin parade. As much as it's been fun doing it for 2 years I've been on, it really died off this year.
Yeah.
We certainly had last showcase, I do believe should be either a committee of its own or part of business advisory or business advisory economic development. To really make that money go. As far as adding event, I kind of struggle as well, and I also struggle with changing the mandate. Basically halfway through the term. People knew what the mandate was going in. So I struggle with a change to that mandate, and I'm sitting on the fence on the welcome event. We have had one here before. I remember it being in here. It was really a lot for Peterborough Homes.
Right.
New people up in that subdivision, but it was open to anybody that was new to the township. I kind of think that should be more of a township driven than a committee driven. Not to say that committee can't help. But that's just my thoughts.
Councillor Hotchkiss is next.
Yeah, through you, in regards to the welcome event, one of the members of our committee got to know the township because of the welcome event. And then she was anticipating the return of it, and then it didn't happen. So it was more, I feel that we should do one, whether it's with the township or not, but if it stays within the mandate of, within the special events committee, they only have 3 events, so it would be something, they didn't intend it to be something that they did themselves. It was to make sure that it happened and to align it with the start of the end, because we were talking the end of the hockey season, end of skating season, the start of baseball season, so that young families and, that's one target market, so that people who are new to the community get to see, so that there is an annual event. I think I understand it coming from the township, but I think it didn't happen from the township. It happened once and then it got canceled the second time. I think the committee.
Yeah, I think actually it happened 3 times. in total.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, sorry, I'll let you.
No, that's fine. It's
Sorry.
just the perception around the table was it had happened once. It was supposed to happen again and then it didn't happen. And that the change of mandate is the special events committee. I mean, as we saw in the reserves, it's been 4 different things. It has been multiple things. I understand perhaps not wanting to change the terms of reference, but I almost think it's an acceptance of what the committee is doing. And around the table, the committee wants it to be, I mean, it's been mentioned here many times, how often are we entertaining our residents? And it's to tighten up why we are doing that. And it's to be a free, accessible, inclusive event for the entire community. And with the welcome event, it's to help people that maybe have been here 10 years and are now recently retired, or they have more headspace, they have time to come out and get involved. And I think we should definitely have a welcome event. Maybe it doesn't sit with special events, but I think it needs to be on a calendar that someone is working on, because that's how we got some of the members of our committee. So.
Counselor Ward.
Thank you through you, and I appreciate what the special events committee has been doing, but I'm in alignment with a couple other comments that the welcome event should not be under a special events committee. For one thing, once you have a welcome event, it can't be a meeting, like if council comes, we have to be really careful about how that is done as well, and you can't have, you know, what I think this should come from the township itself, from staff. I don't think this is, should be in here, and the proposed mandate change. I think you have a work plan, but the proposed mandate, yes, maybe some things you're not able to do anymore, but I think you guys even have a problem, have had struggles getting quorum, because I noticed that the minutes that came forward were from February. And, you know, and then all of a sudden getting this as a proposed mandate update when we haven't even been able to get minutes from the committee.
There was
I
a
find-
nice storm. This one of them, we did miss quorum and then there was a nice storm.
No, yeah, no, but I mean, there was two, like February 4th, I don't know, I just think that that's a long time before minutes come forward from the committee as well, and then this comes forward. In my opinion, this should come out of this proposed mandate update, just throwing it out there. That's my opinion. I go to staff, yes.
Yes, just to follow up on what everyone's saying, I think, the proposal of the welcome committee, yeah, absolutely, it needs to happen again, and I do believe it was 3 times, I think it was 2 at the town hall, and then 1 here, over the years, and then, of course, COVID kicked everything into the curb on that, and yeah, I do think it needs to happen, I think it just needs to look a little bit different, and certainly I like the timing of it. April works great, especially for young families. So we're in May now. We have lots of time to move forward with that. So that's just my comment on that piece of it.
Yeah, well,
So through you, Mayor, what you might want to consider then is direction to staff to provide a report based on the letter received by the committee and the feedback from council during this discussion to come back to the next meeting.
that sounds okay. Council agree with that? Somebody make the motion. Councilor Walsh. Second. Councilor Ward, all in favor? Motion's carried. Just a comment on that, it used to be also, but different, community, committees have disbanded. The Lioness, they used to go to new homes, they used to have a gift bag with stuff from different, businesses, 10% coupons, blah, blah, different things like that. And then as it got bigger, when you had so many houses being built at once, that's why I don't think about it. Council liaison reports. Anybody have anything they would like to bring forward? Councilor Walsh.
Just a reminder, actually, our CEO Alan already mentioned it as part of his report, but our first market, which has been in the works for a while, so pretty excited. It's going to be this Saturday. Weather cooperating. I think it's 12, we have at least 12 vendors, and more have actually came on board and asked since they saw the posting. So looking forward to a good day. We'll learn as we go, but it's exciting that we have, at least 12 vendors that are going to be there. And right next door, I'll put a plug in for the Lions Club. They will have a barbecue and coffee for people that want to have something to eat for breakfast or lunch as well. So hopefully a good day.
All righty. Don't know if your numbers are 100% correct. Well, but now,
So through you, as of this morning, I believe we're at 8.
Okay, so we lost, we're at 12. So
Yeah, we've been going up and down as people have contacted.
okay.
I think there was like 5 candlestick makers. I need 5 of them there. I'm sorry, but
Candlesticks are very popular.
very popular.
We were down to 6, but I believe we're back up to 8.
Okay, that's so good.
Yes, looking forward to a really good event.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you through you. I did have a thing typed up and I thought I hit send to Melanie to include it in the liaison report. And obviously I didn't because it wasn't in the package. But anyway, we've had a couple council meetings. When you get the next agenda package, there will be the minutes from the April 23rd meeting. So just take a look. There's the EORN annual update, which is the number of new towers and that sort of thing within the county. There's the Peterborough County Municipal Services Corporation update, just looking at financing ideas for communities who are not on municipal water and wastewater services. So they're kind of looking at that for some regions. There will be the treasurer's statement of DC charges for the county, and it kind of is broken down by the township. So take a look at that. And then there'll be a draft of a proposed ECDEV and tourism budget. So at the next agenda, you can look at those meeting updates from the county. Last week we had a report from PSD Citywide in the asset management plan, and it was on non-core assets, same as what we did here. I wasn't going to include that anyways, because by the end of the year, third quarter, I think they're coming forward with the core and non-core asset plan with a financial management strategy. So when we get that, I'll include that, and there'll be quite a few details in there, kind of scary, as we know.
Yeah.
And then finally, we received the red line revisions from the official plan, which was submitted in July 1st, 2022. Anyway, that package has gone in or is going into the ministry, and hopefully we get something passed. New minister in place, and they have contacted the ministry. They have been in touch with the staff. Hopefully they do get a meeting with the minister as well, and we're hoping that this finally gets passed. There will be some changes to the mapping which weren't allowed in the red line provisions, but hopefully those will go through. Those can be put through in the revision later on. So that's county, and then just library. We had our meeting last night. As a reminder, I think Councillor Hodge-Greaves mentioned it last time. June 13th, Name That Tune fundraiser, $30 for a table of 6. There'll be pizza at halftime and door prizes, and the bar is open. It is here. If anybody wants a table, let me know, and I can get that arranged for you. Canadian, I can't remember if you mentioned this last time, Stephanie, Canadian Community Museum passes are available from the library. So family pass, you can get it for 1 week, and it sounds like a fantastic partnership. Our librarian had gone to a Rural Roots Library Conference and came back with some great ideas for programming outreach partnerships. And thank you very much from the board members for the staff rates for the fitness. We're very excited to get that report, so thank you.
Councillor Gore.
Just an update, we had our research weekend at the Heritage Center. It was very well attended. We were busy both days, lots of interest, helping lots of people do research, and we've had many inquiries to do private meetings. So research days out there. So it was well attended. Thank you to everyone. We inducted Rob Gordon and Terry and Doris into our research room. There's a plaque there, and I can tell you that the three of them were very pleased. There's one picture of Brenda Bullock, Doris and Terry, and Rob. And that represents over 110 years of service to the what was the Historical Society, which is now rebranded as the Cultural Heritage. So the four of them combined have 110 years of volunteer service, which I think is remarkable. So onward to the next one, and thank you to Melanie and staff for helping us get brochures and posters out. June 22nd, mark your calendars. We have Irish Millie, we have the Lions food truck. We have Angelica Otwell, she's a harpist and she's telling the story of St. Patrick's. And then we have Keene Country closing out the date from 2 till 3:30. They're gonna be playing all at the Westwood Park beside the library. So we are very thankful. This is the Peter Robinson grant. We also have a historical talk in the morning. And we are starting the day off with a sunrise service at 5 a.m. And Hiawatha First Nations will be there to do a sunrise service in Westwood. So it's a pretty big day and we're thankful to have that Peter Robinson grant. And then one other thing I just wanted to highlight, August 7th, we've been asked from the 9 Ships Committee from Peterborough, we are participating in a bus tour and they're going to do Autonomy South Monaghan, Asphodel-Norwood and Dummer-Durrell. The tickets are on sale now, Eventbrite through 9 Ships. And if they have enough interest, there'll be a second bus. So it's kind of a historical tour through all 3 of those townships highlighting the Peter Robinson settlement.
Right.
But you know, other points of interest. And I think this might be a once in a lifetime because that's a pretty big undertaking that everyone's taking to do this tour. And so that's August 7th. And that's it for now. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, moving along to general business. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss? Councillor Hodge-Graves.
Yes, through you. I've been thinking about it since I was a candidate, but with the election thing today, the voting, I thought this would be a good time to raise it. When I was a candidate, the policy, use of corporate resource policy elections that was in our binder, I found interesting and restrictive, and I didn't understand why. So it's the section of activities. The following activities are not permitted during an election campaign period, and it was the use of township property, whether directly or indirectly booked for any election purpose, campaigning or solicitation, including display or distribution of wearing buttons or clothing within any township property, campaigning or solicitation at a township organized event. Those 3, I didn't understand why we weren't allowed as candidates to publicly rent a facility that is a public facility if you're paying for it. The rest of them do make sense. I don't believe that use of equipment, supplies, staff, or other resources, you shouldn't be allowed to use staff. But those first 3, I didn't understand as a candidate, and I don't know, I've had a quick conversation with the clerk about, is that in the municipal act? Is it not? And I would like us to revisit that, because to me, why aren't we allowed to use the town hall to host an open forum event if it's open to everyone as a candidate? Why wouldn't we want our facilities to be used for an all candidates meeting? I'm not saying staff have anything to do with it, but I don't understand why we weren't allowed to do that, or why we weren't allowed to even wear a badge on a township property. So I just thought I'd ask some questions now.
CLL.
So through you, Mayor, I think your timing is very good, Councilor, because we've just started talking about the budget
Yeah.
process. Best of my knowledge, and if I'm wrong, I don't believe there's anything in the municipal act, but it is not unusual for municipalities to set their own processes on how they want conducted in their particular town, city, town, whatever.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is maybe a motion from council for staff to go back, look at what other local municipalities are doing, compare it to what we currently have in place. Are we in step? Are we someplace off to the side? And then bring that report back to council, and then you can make an informed decision on what you want this to look like for the next election.
You want to make that a
I would, yes, because I obviously it mattered to me. It's been 2.5 years. I feel it does need some revisiting.
Councillor Walsh? Any further comments? All in favor? 2.
Because I'll add my piece in, like, I wondered, we had a all candidates meeting at the high school. When we have a town hall, we have a millennium, the election before, it was at the Legion, and that's when I first learned that you can't use it in our municipality. You're not allowed to use a municipal building to hold. So I would like to understand what other townships is doing, and we can make a more informed decision when we kind of know what everybody else is doing, but necessarily we want to follow everybody else, but at least understand what everybody else is doing.
And just a comment, I wouldn't want to be running, I'm running for mayor, wearing a t-shirt, running back and forth inside the town hall.
I don't know why you couldn't have a badge. I mean.
I could have.
But where do you start and stop?
Where do you start and stop? That's, yes, and that's why I see this as a good idea to do this. Go ahead.
So through you, Mayor, I think really we should look at for council, what are the best practices?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can we mirror those best
Yeah,
practices?
yeah, or, you know, maybe we don't want to mirror those best practices, but let's find out what they are.
Depending on the circumstances, yeah.
Okay. I'll ask for the motion again.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I'll say yes. More on general business, spring road tour. Can we get a motion to call a special meeting for Thursday, June 12th to conduct the spring road tour? Is everybody okay with the meeting at the municipal office parking lot at 9 a.m.? You moving that, Councillor Hodgkrees?
So it's June 12th, 9 a.m. meeting here for the spring road tour. Outside.
Municipal
Oh,
parking.
municipal. I actually didn't-
Town hall.
Okay, municipal office.
Second by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any further comments? All in favor? And it's carried. Yes,
Just under general business, just wanted to let you know, and I'll send it off to Melanie. I just got the email this morning. U of A is holding a lunch and learn tomorrow online on mental health awareness, and it's called the Recovering Farmer. Probably not great timing because we finally have dry weather and warm weather. I can't imagine there's any farmers that will be inside between 12 and noon. However, that email just came through. It's not on my council email, it's on my personal email. So I'll send that and then maybe it can go out online. Sorry, it's very late notice. But just, you had talked about that in the past, so I will send that to Melanie.
okay. No further. Right. We're now going to move into a closed session in accordance with section 239, section 2A and B of the Municipal Act, and the time is 2:41. May I get a motion, please?
With a recess before we start, please.
Councillor Walsh, with the recess. Councillor Hodge-Greaves. And all in favor? Motion's carried. I'd like to relinquish the chair of business I have to deal with right now. Deputy Mayor Burt will take my spot.
Thank you very much. So we've risen from closed and I'd like a motion to be following direction given in closed. Motion by Councillor Hodge-Greaves, seconded by Councillor War, all in favor. Motion is carried. And I believe we are going right into the bylaws. Clerk, I'll pass it along to you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. That the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood held May 13, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered 2025-26.
Councillor Walsh, seconder, Councillor Hodge-Greaves, all in favor? That is carried, and you see your future meeting schedule there. Just a reminder that the road tour will be on June 12th. 9 a.m. we'll be meeting in the parking lot in behind, so just a reminder of that, and that can go on the next time. And I don't think there's anything else, so motion to adjourn. And that is at 3:52 by Councillor Hodge-Greaves, seconded by Councillor War, all in favor. Thank you, motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.